Hello, my happy readers. It's Shed Time Stories with me, Issy. Are you ready to share a new story? I have chosen a wonderfully magical story to share. The title is Underwater Adventures at the Seahorse Village. This is book 2 from the beautiful book series, The Magic Hot Air Balloon. If you have this book at home, you can read along with me. The author, the person who has written this story, and the illustrator, the person who has drawn all the pictures, is Brianna Fabian. Now we're going to meet a young girl, Shannon. She has the most incredible dreams at night when travelling in a magic hot air balloon. These adventures all start at the pop of a bubble. Shall we read and find out what happens in this story? Shannon Rooney is an unusual 7-year-old who travels in a magical hot air balloon at night while asleep. Last night, she travelled to a mystical beach, touched an enchanted shell, and shrank down to fit inside it. She climbed up a spiral staircase inside the shell to the top room, where she opened a magic trunk to find a white stuffed dog named Scotty inside. To her surprise, he was real and was waiting for her to be his new travelling buddy. The next morning, Shannon looked for Scotty as soon as she got up. He was there beside her bed, wagging his tail happily. "I can't believe you're still here, and that was all real," she said to Scotty. "And I don't even feel tired." "Of course you're not tired," Scotty explained. "When you're in dreamland, you always feel well rested after." Eager to start her day, Shannon was brushing her teeth when she noticed the new pictures over the bathtub. One was a shell, just like the one from Dreamland Beach. The other picture was a seahorse. "Where did you get the pictures in the bathroom?" she yelled down to her mom, who was making breakfast in the kitchen. "Grandma painted them when she was 7, and she gave them to me when I was 7, her mom answered cheerfully. "Well, that's weird," thought Shannon. When her mom called to say that breakfast was ready, Scotty was so excited he ran into the hallway, bouncing and kicking his furry feet up in the air. "Snackies!" he exclaimed. "Shush, Scotty! Stop running! Mum said no pets!" Shannon whispered to him. When he reached the kitchen, Scotty dramatically flopped over in a fluffy white heap. Then he winked. Turning to her mom, Shannon thought she saw her mom wink back at him. "I must be tired," Shannon said to herself, shaking her head. It was a beautiful sunny morning, so after breakfast, Shannon grabbed Scotty and a few sausages to give him later and went out to play in the garden. Shannon loved spending time in her mother's whimsical garden and feeding the fish in the pond. Scotty saw a bird bath with a statue of a seahorse in it and ran to investigate. "Hello, Poppy," he said to the seahorse as if it were real. It was a very warm afternoon, so Shannon and Scotty sat in her mom's garden shed to cool off. High in the rafters were her mother's and grandmother's journals from when they were young. Shannon's mom promised her she could read them someday and that Shannon could even keep her own journals in there. Now that I have my balloon, Scotty, and our adventures, I have something fun to write about, thought Shannon happily. As the day got cooler, Scotty had fun chasing squirrels around the trees. After that, he sniffed at the flowers and dug something out of the back corner of the garden by the lamppost. He ran excitedly to Shannon and dropped it at her feet. "Look, Shannon, I found a wind-up for a toy." Shannon picked up a muddy key with a heart shape on one end and a moon shape on the other end and rinsed it in the goldfish pond. The key was made out of beautiful crystal, and the sunlight cast rainbow shimmers on the pond water. The goldfish swam towards them, hoping for food, as Shannon put the delicate key in her pocket. She wondered what the key was for and thought the day would go slowly, but had so much fun watching Scotty explore the garden that the day flew by. In bed later that day, while waiting for her mom to say goodnight, Shannon twirled the crystal wind-up key in the light, making rainbow sparkles all over her bedroom walls. When her mom walked in, she noticed the crystal wind-up key Shannon was turning in the light. "Oh," she said excitedly, "you found the key to your grandma's merry-go-round." Her mother moved the merry-go-round to the nightstand next to the bed. "You can use the key to help you sleep tonight." As Shannon wound up the merry-go-round, the animals made shadows on the walls, and she fell asleep to the sweet melodies. Tonight, a kaleidoscope of starfish brought Shannon and Scotty to the hot air balloon. Shannon had a difficult time deciding which shimmering bubble to pick next. She saw a winter scene in one bubble, but decided not to pick that one. The bubble she decided upon had a tiny yellow seahorse in it. This time, not only did Shannon feel like she was shrinking, she also had the oddest sensation that she was flying through air that tasted like pistachio macaroons. She looked around and was surprised to see macaroons drifting next to her. Beneath the balloon was a moonlit ocean with a floating merry-go-round like the one in her room. "Grab a macaroon and hop on, Shannon," yelled Scotty. They both sailed down and gently landed on the bobbing merry-go-round. "Which one should we pick to ride, Scotty?" asked Shannon, breathless with excitement. Scotty was busy greeting every seahorse with a joyful wag of his tail. The merry-go-round started to twirl slowly when Shannon put the moon-shaped key in place. Shannon picked up Scotty, chose a yellow seahorse, and climbed onto it. As she did, the seahorse came to life. Scotty and the seahorse happily nuzzled each other with their noses. "Hello, Scotty. You must be Shannon. I'm Poppy. Are you ready to go to Bubble Palace?" Poppy asked. As they bobbed up and down on the merry-go-round, Shannon asked, "Where is that?" "It's deep under the sea," answered Poppy. Shannon had a shiver in her voice. "Down there? But I can't swim very well," she said sadly. "Silly Shannon, of course you can. Anything is possible in Dreamland," said Poppy encouragingly, ready to dive into the water. "Don't worry, Shannon," said Scotty. "Let's go!" And they all jumped in with a splash. As Shannon and Scotty swam through the water, they noticed a town on the ocean floor. As they swam towards it, beautiful coloured lights appeared. "Welcome to Seahorse Village, Shannon and Scotty," said an orange seahorse excitedly at the village entrance. Scotty, wagging his tail wildly, ran up to the seahorse and rubbed noses with her. "How do you know us?" asked Shannon, mystified by the greeting. "Everyone knows Scotty and his traveller. We make your travelling bubbles here. We're so happy you're here for a visit. Better hurry, Lincoln the train is leaving for the Bubble Palace soon," replied the orange seahorse. Shannon, Scotty and Poppy got on the train. Poppy gave the train conductor some sand dollars, while Shannon and Scotty found their seats. Poppy sat beside them instead of holding onto a handle with her tail like the other seahorses were doing. She looked shyly at the floor of the train, and the other seahorses ignored her. Shannon looked out the window with great excitement. 2 small starfish were clinging to the window, holding an advertisement for the Seahorse Village candy store. "I want to go to the candy store first," Shannon exclaimed happily. On the way to the candy store, there were more floating bubbles in the water, and Poppy sighed as she saw them. "What's the matter, Poppy?" asked Shannon. "I'm just sad that my bubbles don't make me glow like the other seahorses' bubbles do. Everyone else's bubbles are so interesting, but mine are boring." Shannon wanted to cheer up Poppy, so she said, "Show me some of your bubbles when we get to the Bubble Palace. I'm sure they are wonderful." "Really?" said Poppy hopefully. "I would like that very much." When they got to the candy store, they noticed a chandelier on the ceiling that was actually a purple octopus juggling shimmering lights. Looking into a glass case, Shannon saw candy lollipops that looked like the bubbles from her hot air balloon. They also had different scenes in them. "Oh, may I have this one, please, Poppy?" Shannon asked, pointing to a lollipop that reminded her of her favourite trip on the balloon. Scotty picked out a dog bone-shaped bubble and was happily chewing it. Poppy paid with sand dollars, which slowly crept across the counter and put themselves in the cash register. As they were happily eating the crystal bubble pops, enjoying the scenery outside the window, Shannon noticed bright and colourful lights falling from above. "What are those?" she asked Poppy curiously. "Those are very powerful falling starfish. If you catch one, it grants you a wish," explained Poppy. Shannon was so excited to make a starfish wish that she swam outside and twirled and swirled until she caught a beautiful golden-coloured starfish. "My name is Rose," said the starfish. "What is your wish?" Scotty was so excited she caught a starfish. "Shannon, what are you going to wish for?" he asked her happily, wagging his tail. Shannon put the wiggling starfish in her pocket and answered them both. "I want to save it for a very special wish." By this time, Lincoln the train had already left, so Poppy said, "Ride on my back to the Bubble Palace." "Whee!" said Scotty as he and Shannon giggled while they glided through the water towards the palace. Soon the trio approached a beautiful golden underwater palace. The double doors had seahorse handles on them. Scotty tried to pull one of the handles, but the door wouldn't open. One of the seahorses asked for the password. "Sassafrazzle, I don't remember," Scotty said in a disappointed voice. "What does sassafrazzle mean?" asked Shannon curiously. To answer Shannon's question, Scotty sang her a song. "Go travelling with your best friend in the bubble balloon tonight. Great adventures and some new friends. Then back home when it is light. Sassafrazzle's fun to say when things aren't going right. Sassafrazzle makes me laugh, then everything's all right." Shannon and Poppy laughed as Scotty swirled and danced about. When the seahorse handles asked for the password again, Scotty said, "Oh yeah, I remember the password. It's Shannon Rooney." "Oh my!" the seahorses gasped. "The traveller, you may pass," they said in very important voices. The inside of the palace glowed with the lights from many floating bubbles. There were happily waving sea creatures of all sorts lined up along the hallway as Shannon passed by them. An octopus introduced himself as Charlie and shook Shannon's hand 8 times. There were a few seahorses from the train watching them with their googly eyes as they went by. Shannon overheard them saying, "What is Poppy doing with the new traveller and Scotty? And why did she pick Poppy's bubble over ours?" in unkind voices. Poppy, looking embarrassed and sad, swam away without saying goodbye. Shannon didn't know it was Poppy's bubbles she had picked and tried to call Poppy back to tell her how much she liked them, but she hiccuped instead. Scotty said, "Oh no, you will wake up now that you have the hiccups." "I can't wake up now without telling Poppy how wonderful her bubbles were. How can I stay here longer?" cried Shannon. Rose, the falling starfish, then twisted about happily in Shannon's pocket. "Of course, I can use my starfish wish," Shannon said excitedly. She took her starfish out of her pocket. "I wish to stay here longer," Shannon wished with all her might. "Your wish is granted," said Rose, glowing brightly. As the starfish twirled and swirled around Shannon, she noticed her hiccups magically vanished. "Poppy, wait!" Shannon cried out. "Yes?" asked Poppy sadly when she turned around to Shannon. I didn't want to leave before I told you how wonderful the bubbles you made for me were. It wasn't just the beautiful scenery in them. I love the bubbles that you made, and you should be glowing with confidence about them. It was your bubble that brought me and Scotty together. Your bubble today brought me here to meet you. And being with loved ones is the most beautiful thing of all, Shannon said gratefully. Shannon and Scotty gave Poppy a big hug, and Poppy was so happy that she glowed bright as a golden star. All the sea creatures were watching happily and started flipping their fins and saying, "Yay, Poppy!" Rose, the starfish that granted Shannon's wish, was clapping quite a few hands and twirled happily. The seahorses that were not kind to Poppy said they were sorry and asked her to go to the candy store with them. The seahorses were so happy that they glowed and made shiny rainbow bubbles. As Shannon and Scotty were lifted up through the water, they waved goodbye to their new friends. At the surface, the hot air balloon was waiting by the floating merry-go-round for them. As they flew home, Shannon said, "Scotty, isn't it weird that I see things in real life that are in my dream world, like Poppy in the bird bath?" Scotty gave her a smile and said, "Why would that be strange? They are both your worlds, Shannon. Why do you think everyone was so happy to see you? It's time for you to read your grandmother's journals. Let's both talk to your mom about it tomorrow." "Both of us?" Shannon exclaimed. "Yes, of course, both of us. It's time you learned who you really are," Scotty said mysteriously. What a sweet, whimsical story that was. How lucky is Shannon and Scotty to have such amazing adventures in a magic hot air balloon, and all at the pop of a bubble. I wonder if you could travel in a magic hot air balloon, where would you like to go? I hope you've enjoyed this Shed Time story, and if you want to, you can like, share, follow and subscribe to Shed Time Stories. Then you'll be ready for the next story we can share together. Bye-bye!